Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Jared Milan. This is Justice's Waiting Room. It's a daily live podcast that we actually co stream, meaning I'm also live on YouTube. If you have been sitting in my live daily podcast here on TikTok, I want to implore you go to my profile, click on the YouTube link, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. And hey, I think that's where I want to migrate my audience. Why? First of all, lots of people, hi Tiny, lots of people complain about audio. The only way the audio is going to get better is if I'm not yelling at my phone on TikTok. If you go to YouTube, the sound quality is going to improve because I'm wearing this headset. Savvy? So my advice to you is go to the link in my profile, click YouTube, go to YouTube, watch this show on YouTube Live. You also can just click the links I post instead of having to copy and paste them and it taking a lot longer. Okay? Okay, so what we do on this show, okay, is we discuss news and politics, except I'm a socialist. So, hey, socialism, the four pillars of socialism are universal healthcare, education, income, and housing. I'm on the tube. So, yeah, actually, I've been a content creator posting content on YouTube for more than a decade. So, if you actually go and follow my YouTube, it's like got more than a decade worth of work. So you can see how I waltzed into this role. Okay. So this podcast has an opening song that we chose. Okay. And it's War by Edwin Starr. And I post the link to the original video, the original music video for War. Okay. If you served in the military, you know this song. Okay. If you're military adjacent, you know this song. If you're an appreciator of music, you know this song. Okay. While you listen to that, we're going to let it play. I'm going to finish my breakfast. Okay. Little breakfast, Amy. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. If you're having trouble hearing me here on TikTok, my advice is to click on the link in my profile, go to YouTube, listen to the podcast on YouTube. Tell me if the sound isn't a lot better. Morning. Absolutely nothing. And hey, the first story that you need to know today, you know how. Sorry, this song's popping. It was my mom. the first thing you need to know is that you know how Jack Smith resigned effective yesterday? Did you also know that the president of the International Court of Justice at The Hague also resigned yesterday? I want to say his name was Fawad Salam, but that feels a little lazy. Like, I feel lazy just letting it roll off my tongue. Fawad Salam. Like, that's just his fucking name. Like, I know him. And remember, what's up, JoJo? Remember that we are in full rebellion. Understand that unless you run a business that requires you use Meta tools, we don't use Facebook anymore. Savvy? No Facebook, no IG, no threads. And I'm not telling you to deactivate your account. Okay? Become an inactive user. It's like quiet quitting Facebook. Okay? That's what I'm telling you need to be doing. Okay? Quiet quit Facebook. IG. Yep, they arrested the president of South Korea last night. Okay? Don't forget the Meta Oculus headsets. Yeah, right? But yeah, no Facebook, no threads, no IG. Okay? And I didn't say delete them. I just said stop using this shit. Here's what I've come to understand. It's active users versus total users. So if your user base grows, right, and your active user base does not grow, that's not good for your social media site. So one of the things that everybody knows is that everybody is on Facebook now, right? Understand that when Facebook first started, you had to have a university email in order to get access to it, and that Mark Zuckerberg only helped build Facebook. He had a whole team of people that helped him build that, and his selfish behavior is how he ended up the CEO there. There are much smarter and better people that should have been the leadership from the jump, but one of the things that we've learned is that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And Mark Zuckerberg, there's a reason he took on MMA. It's because he knows it's coming. This isn't a call for violence. I got it out of the TikTok shop. I just happen to firmly believe there's a equal and opposite reaction to everything. Okay. So, in addition to that, woke up this morning. What is MMA? Mixed martial arts. Yeah, like UFC, or Bellator, or whatever the ultimate fighting is where you are. I used to be a big fan. Okay. I was a big GSP fan. When I was on active duty in the Marine Corps Infantry, I was in 8th Marine Regiment Headquarters Company, and my CO was Brian Stan. He fought in the UFC for a long time. A lot of people they know who Brian Stan is, but I took Brian Stan to the boxing gym. What does MMA have to do with Zuckerberg? He got into it. He took on MMA. He rolls around on a mat and throws punches and kicks. He thinks he needs to protect himself personally. Are you having trouble connecting those dots? I'm legitimately asking you a question. Like, is that hard to connect? One of the most powerful men in the world started taking MMA classes, and then Meta is eliminating their DEI programs, their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. So I woke up this morning and I thought, like, how do I further help disrupt? And that's what we're doing. We're creating good trouble. We're not organizing chaos. Okay. Mm, mm. Absolutely, Wicked. I agree with you. But what's always heavy on my mind is how the world affects people that don't look like me. And so I think the most important thing that I can come out with and say is it ain't just Facebook. Okay? It ain't just Facebook. It's Walmart. Okay? So we don't shop at fucking Walmart anymore. Okay? It's John Deere. So we don't buy that little green tractor. It's Ford. So no more Mustangs, no more F-150, none of that shit. Okay? No Walmart. No, yeah, Publix is another good one too. No more Taco Bell. Okay? No Wendy's. We don't eat Wendy's. Okay? One of my rules is don't come in my chat and try to jump on my live if I don't know you very well. Understand? Mods, make sure you see somebody try to jump on my live that you also ban them. Okay? But the big ones are Harley Davidson, Ford, John Deere, Walmart, and Meta. Those are the 5 largest American corporations that have ended their DEI programs, their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. You don't work for those companies, you don't buy products from those companies, and we make sure that we keep fucking saying it. Starbucks is a union company. So you don't buy their stock, but you can do business at a unionized coffee shop. You understand? You don't buy stock from Starbucks, but you can yeah. One of the things that we learned last night when we were reading the Jack Smith report, which is what we're going to get to, okay? We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. But we got to kind of people are asking me what's going on, right? So let's talk about what's kind of going on. I woke up this morning after that last night where we read the Jack Smith report. We found out about the president of the International Court of Justice resigning suddenly. That leaves a hole that Jack Smith could fill. Okay. We also found out last night during the reading, I was trying to figure out because in Jack Smith's report, it doesn't say people's names. Okay. It just says shit like co-conspirator 1 through 6 for the record. It's like co-conspirators 1 through 6. We had to figure out who those people are so that the information flow is better. Because if I just sit there and I tell you co-conspirator 1, 4, 5, and 6 were all in the same room, dude, that's shitty. You don't know who any of those people are. How are you learning anything? You don't know who to be upset with, right? You just know co-conspirators. We've got that list. So now we know who co-conspirators 1 through 6 are. Okay? And the only way we got there was by deduction, my dear Watson. Okay? Additionally, the reason that I was like, oh, yeah, Publix. What we found out last night is one of the major... Okay, here, I can help you. Let me help you, user, and a bunch of numbers. Let me help you. Let me help you on your way out. Who cares? Who comes in someone's live with like 150 fucking people in it and is like, who cares? Who cares about this? 150 people other than you, actually, and growing. Okay? Thank you, world. Now listen. So what we found out last night is that there was, how do we say it? There was like a I'm gonna say 1 through 6. Yes. No, Day. Daymark, I thought that I would hide it from you today. Like play a little game of cat and mouse. See how long I could go without saying their names. Don't worry, I'm itching to, but let me get to it, okay? So one of the things that we found out pre-insurrection, so before the actual assault on the Capitol, there was this like party. On the day that will live in infamy, there was this party. and it cost $2.1 million. And immediately I was like, who fucking paid for that shit right there? I want to know who paid for that. And we found that the major donor was the heiress of the Publix fortune. So the I believe it is a white woman. Correct me when I'm wrong. That is the heiress to Publix. She is the majority financer. Alex Jones also paid $50K. A bunch of smaller donors made $1 million donation. But yeah, the heiress of Publix. And Donald Trump also put in money. He put in 170,000. Yeah, but the heiress of Publix. I think her name is Linda, which is hilarious because that's my mom's name. Also, my mom is not the heiress of Publix. Just throwing that out there. But she did deliver the mail, and those aren't related. So yeah, we learned that last night. Okay, so let that rattle around in your fucking brain a little bit. You're like, shit. No Walmart, no Publix, no Facebook, no John Deere, no Ford. Okay, no Harley. Yes, January 6, 2021. Yeah. There was like a pre-insurrection party, and I'm only calling it that because it's like, what the fuck else do you call it? Right before you just assault the Capitol, you had like hot cocoa and fucking, you know what I mean? Like, do people still John Deere? People buy their kids John Deere stuff. My entire family is like tractor owners and shit. Yep, time to start a garden. Abso-fucking-lutely. That's my fan. That's my That's my plan for 2025 is to grow a garden and get solar panels put on my roof. My roof, the major part of my roof, sits in the line of the sun all day until the sun sets. So from the time the sun comes up, the sun is on my roof all day. And so it's like, what can I do with my land? Well, the big flat part of my front yard also sits in the sun all day long. So I'm gonna and I've learned some things. So I know that y'all are itching for me to fucking grind and read, but unless you're fucking paying me money, we're gonna do this how I want to do it. Savvy? So once money starts flowing, oh shit, let me go fucking grind for you. But let me talk for a few minutes. So one of the things I've learned, because everybody wants to grow their own gardens. Okay, one of the things that you need to do is you have to insulate your yield. And I know that doesn't mean anything to you right now. And you're like, Jared, you're speaking fucking Sputnik, and that's ironic now that I say that out loud. But when you grow a garden, you need to insulate your yield. Did you get your wife flowers last night? No, so check this shit out. So I was like, I ran in and told her last night, like, oh my God, they gave us over $100. Like, I think it was like $180. And I was like, Taylor, like, I want to like order you flowers. Like, I'll come have lunch with you tomorrow. Like, we'll do a whole fucking thing and we'll give them the double birds. Like, fuck you. And she was like, don't do that. I don't work tomorrow. And I was like, fuck, it's her day off. Like, So I got up this morning and I was like, do you want me to make you breakfast? You may get the stuff to make you breakfast. And she's like, no, I don't want any of those things. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, she was getting really frustrated with Facebook this morning. And I was like, go join my Discord. It's like it's all women. Like the matriarchy is all women. They're all like married and older. Most of them are like way older than me. It's not like women I'm trying to replace you with. These are people that I work with. And she's like, okay. And she did that. So for the record, I thought I was gonna win here, and I was gonna get her flowers, and I was gonna go have lunch with her at work. And nah, she didn't even fucking work, and she joined the fucking Discord. So, God damn it. And she was like, eat it. Like, she's not a breakfast person, and she doesn't like flowers. Yeah, so my wife's fucking awesome. I'm awesome. Um, but yeah, so I wanted to share something that I learned, okay? Because a lot of people are feeling like I am, like we've got to reduce our reliance on these places that aren't looking out for us. And here's what I learned from my neighbor. Okay, he's a little bitty guy, and no, I don't mean no offense. He's a full foot shorter than I am. Dead ass. He asked me if he could hug me. He was standing on the sidewalk, like a raised sidewalk, and he put his head into my chest, and like I hugged him, like a son. It was hilarious. And he was like, "You're a fucking massive human." I'm like, "Hey, you are a tiny man." Okay, but what I learned from him, like bullshitting in the dry, I know it was fucking hilarious. Like he felt fragile. If you've ever hugged someone and you're like, "Oh, you poor thing," that man, his whole person fits inside my body. No offense. He could wear me like a glove. Okay. Um, he had put up growers in his yard. And he was like, fucking come back and check my shit out. You know, we really hadn't connected. I'll be dead ass. I have to tell this story. I have to interrupt my story to tell you about the first time I met this person. So he was super bubbly. Him and his wife were super bubbly. They're winos. They're fucking drinkers. Okay, wine drinkers. He comes over to our house and they gave us a basket, wine and cheese and grapes and shit. It was fucking nice. Whatever. Lasted like 5 minutes. Let's be serious. Um, and so, like, of course, we're like, we gotta fuck with these people because they like give good gifts and shit. Like, holy shit! And of course, like, you're like new homeowners, and it's like the least thing, the least troublesome thing that happened was like our neighbor fucking gave us wine. You know what I mean? So we went to a party at their house, okay? And I don't know if any of you are readers. Okay, if any of you have ever read some, I don't know, poetry from when you were a kid or books, the required reading when you were in high school, like The Cask of Amontillado. Okay, I went to this dude's house, and he's my neighbor across the street, and I fucking like him. This is not a story about me not liking this person. This is a story about me going over to his house. They're having an outdoor party. It's nice outside. We'll say it was like 75 degrees and no wind. It was like perfect outside fall weather. This is years ago. Okay. This motherfucker in the middle of a party, I'm like 4 or 5 drinks deep. I should not be going anywhere but back to my fucking house and take your ass to the bed, right? I'm like 5 drinks deep. He's pitching me beers out of the cooler. And like, I'll get one half down and the next one's my hand. Like, God damn it. Like shit. It was like being Bart Simpson, right? For like 5 minutes in your life. So after like beer 5, I'm dizzy. That's how fucking drunk. I was having such a good time, like endorphins out that ass, dude. I was having such a good time. It was like me and all your neighbors, and they're just getting fucking shammered. And he's like, "Hey, you should follow me down into my wine cave." And I panicked, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going down there." And he was like, "Oh, come on, man! I want you to see my fucking wine collection." And I was like, "No, that's how I die." I already figured, dude. I mean, you talk about some fucking clairvoyance, where I was just like, "Nah, that's the room I get murdered in." So it's been awkward as fuck, by the way. If you wondered, hey, how'd that relationship pan out? Awkward awkward as a son of a bitch. And after the election, so fast forward fucking years from that first meeting to after the election. I'm going to try to tell this story using code language, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's probably for your best interest. The Schmalice came to my house. They thought that I was the leader of a Schmerish military group. And they had asked me to identify people that I know, people that I went to high school with, people that I'm related to, people that I worked with. If any of those people, if I suspected that any of them were part of any Schmerish military groups, they thought that I was the leader, the coordinator. That's fucking incorrect. I don't nope. And that, yeah, holy shit, what? Yeah. And what ultimately happened is they kept asking about a handful of people, like 3 or 4 guys, and I was like, oh yeah, I know those guys. I worked with them, and they're like, can you tell us anything about them? And I was like, I mean, that he was in the military. You know, he's from Serbia. You know what I mean? Like, he was in the military. He was from Serbia. He's in the military. Why? And they were like, okay, okay. So do you know, like, do they like guns? And I was like, shooty shooty bang bang. Got it out of the TikTok shop. Shit was free. It was like airsoft. It was fun. We did it on the weekends, paintball and stuff. And I was like, I'm sure they like paintball or airsoft. You know what I mean? Like, grown. These kids are younger than I am by like 15 years. So like, I'm like, sure they like airsoft and paintball. Why not? And they're like, that's not what we're talking about. And I was like, oh, yeah, I have no idea. What the fuck? So yeah, that actually happened to me. And for the record, I've been banned off TikTok for telling that story. Isn't that crazy? That's the craziest shit I've ever said in my life. So I want to get back to this. So when that happened, my neighbor came running outside. The one I have this awkward relationship with, where he was like, "Come down into my cask of Amontillado and fucking die in this wine cellar." That's what I thought was gonna happen. It was years ago. I have PTSD really bad. I have fucking anxiety really bad. I was 5 beers deep. We make weird decisions when we drink, right? So the Schmalise came to my house, and there's three of them in my, like, surrounding my driveway. Okay. No, no. Hey, for the record, I totally deserved this shit. I deserved it. I deserved it. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I will tussle with anyone. That's right. Whether it's IRL, whether it's on the fucking web. I mean, you know what? One of my favorite videos I ever have on the internet ever is one of my fellow Marines that was also in 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines Weapons Company that I'm still friends with. He sent me a video where MAGA was threatening him and threatening to come to his place of employment. And he said, okay, I'll just show up 90 minutes early. And he did that shit. And also, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and fought in, not the UFC, but he fought in 2 lower leagues. And now he's a trainer because he's my age. Like, I'm 40 plus. So, like, he's my age. He's a trainer now. So he showed up to, and keep in mind he was a general manager at a fancy restaurant in Baltimore. Like, that's where this little white boy that I was in the Marine Corps with is from. So if you ever wondered where, like, the hardest people in the world come from, I can fucking tell you. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Maryland, you want to fucking argue with that? You can just argue with that. Okay? But anyway. Page 60, was it? Yeah. Baltimore and Philadelphia. But anyway, he showed up like 90 minutes to work one day, and the guy hit the window of his car with a baseball bat. And so they played a whole game of baseball in the parking lot, and it was on camera because he actually showed up early and set up his phone to record, and then went and sat in his car. And the guy just walked up and was like, "Game on." And it's funny because you can hear the video as soon as he hits as soon as he accidentally hit the window. My buddy goes, "Oh, that was a terrible mistake." I just wanted to tell that. It was funny. Yep. You want to play baseball real bad. Who calls and tells you I'm coming? People that have never done that before. People have never played baseball in public. And what I mean is that he drove to that guy's work and got out and was like, "Let's play baseball." "Oh, you want to sit in your car? I'm going to start the game anyway." And it was like, "Oh no, that's a terrible decision. Like, you want to play baseball when everybody's ready, right? Or you want the element of surprise. You know, either one. Surprise baseball is just as effective as organized baseball. So here's what I would do if I was you. Okay? Because you're not really getting this anywhere else. Okay? You can support me. Okay. I'm happy. Leave me alone. Alright, so here is my Venmo. Okay. Because I'm going to start reading this. And I'm not going to... What's on the flags? So a buddy of mine a while back, he got a 3D printer. And he started doing wood burning. And initially, what he was doing was just the American flags, but they're not they're monotone, right? They're just just one color and wood. And I was like, well, what can you put on the other side of that? And he was like, whatever. Here's some that I made. These three: the Colts, Purdue Boilermakers, Indiana Pacers. And he was like, here's three I made. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a huge Colts fan, Pacers fan, and Purdue alum. And he was like, cool, do you want them? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I was in charge like $400 a piece for those. And I was like, sure, that's expensive. It took some time, took some tools, right? He was like, $250, you can have them all. And I was like, fucking done, sold. I'll take $250. Got all three of them. And I promised them to my the first I've coached high school football. The first season I coached, I had 2 seniors, and I told them, like, pick one and we'll send them to you. So I'm pretty sure Colts and Pacers is spoken for. Like they're owed gifts, but the kids are away in college. So, okay, somebody said, what happened to both those stories? I think... When? What story did we miss? I thought we already did it. I thought we were already good. Right? Because I was saying, like, oh, I hugged my neighbor. So we just left the party after he was like, come down into my shoddy wine cellar, and I was like, not how I'm gonna unalive during this playthrough. And so we just like went home, party. We didn't really fuck with him. Never been back. So imagine that, like 5-6 years have passed, and like, so when the Schmalise came to my house, he came running out of his house and was like, oh my God, what is happening? And I told him, because I like, for the record, before the police told me why they were Schmalise, that I found at the TikTok shop, before I like knew what they were gonna come and I knew it was gonna happen. Oh yeah, and then he runs right up and he's like, what is going on? And I was just like, you should hug me. You should just hug me. And so he like hugged me and he like fit inside my coat. Like I could have put him in my pocket. Anyway, so after the Schmalise left, came back out there and was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And this was like socialism. If you've ever heard like how socialism starts, you like trying to create a community. He was like, we need to work together. I grow a garden. This is what I grow in my garden. This is what I'm good at growing. This is what I'm bad at growing. And I'm like, are you using there's some poo that you can use. I think it is not an emu. I think it starts with a K. No, it's not bat poop. It's what's the it's like a mini giraffe. Except it's just like a cross between like a white cow and a mini giraffe. I'm trying to remember what they're called. No, not chicken poop, not okapi. No, it's like an animal in the United States. People just have them as pets. Llamas. No, is it a llama? It could be a llama. Let's just say it's llama. I don't think it's llama. It might be a llama. It might be a llama. But basically, if you... Alpaca! That's what it is. It's alpaca. Alpaca. It has a K sound in it. Alpaca. Alpaca poop will increase the yield of your garden by like 25%. And the thing about yield that I've learned is that at the farmer level, they know how it affects their yield. At the garden level, yield can mean like size, number, abundance. Like, so alpaca poop, I told him, like, okay, so if you're struggling to grow shit, stick alpaca poop in your growers. And he was like, let me give you some advice. So now we're in this advice war, right? Where like I tell him something, he tells me something. And he's like, so something that he learned is that you have to build growers, the boxes you put your garden in, that are tall enough so that you're not bending over to tend to your garden. And he only built 2.5 foot tall growers. So even if he's like 5'5", you gotta understand he still has to like bend over to tend his garden. And he told me that. He was like, you just gotta build tall growers. And then yeah, for the record, there's a black owned business that is an alpaca farm in the United States that packages and ships their poo, and you can put it on a subscription and you just get it every month and you just throw it in your stuff. Yeah. And for the record, said you could only do it like one time. Yeah. Yeah, he was definitely like taller growers. And I was like, how tall? And he was like, you're forever tall. So like forever. And I was like, okay. And we talked about substrate and prostrate and like your undersoil and your topsoil. And like one of the things that people didn't know, like he didn't know this, okay? The base layer, like when you build a grower, if you don't know what I'm talking about, think about a big bathtub, right? That's what a grower is. Remember the old porcelain bathtubs? Grower, okay? But that's only like 2 feet tall tops, okay? Too much will burn your garden. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. But what you want is you want sticks as your base. So I don't burn stuff, I gather. So when I go clean my yard before I mow it, I'm just picking up sticks and going putting them in a neat pile. And then what you do when you get your growers in is you could fill those with like 2 to 3 feet of sticks, and those sticks are super nutrient dense. They take a long time to break down, and it cuts your investment cost because you have infinite sticks and they cost zero if you're like a homeowner and you have trees in your yard. Okay? So you can infinitely substrate, right? It means you could have infinite substrate. It means like 60% of your grower needs to be sticks. And then you need prostrate, which is more along the lines of like leaves and moss. Okay? And then above that, you need what's called undersoil. And for those that don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, undersoil is brown dirt. It's literally the stuff in your yard, okay? Topsoil is the black top that's got the little white things in it, the little chemicals in it and shit. That's to guard underneath it. And so and you could put stuff on top of that to protect your fucking your top. Okay? So I want to make sure that I like that was the whole story. Is like we traded gardening tips. I told him I was putting on solar panels and shit and trying to power the whole fucking neighborhood and like take the electric bill off everybody's plate, trying to grow a big ass garden in my yard and give it all away, trying to take a big produce purchase off everybody's grocery bill. You think about just doing those two things in one neighborhood could lower people's bills by like $200-300 a month. And you think about, what if everybody's doing it? What if everybody's putting up solar panels, contributing to a I would say like a public slash private power production, and then also everybody grows a garden. Whatever you're good at, you grow. Whatever you're bad at, you try to get other people to grow. And one of the things that I'm not doing is I'm not sitting here telling people to use your yard, like to dig in your yard. You don't want to dig in your yard. Why don't you want to dig in your yard? Does anybody know? If you don't know why you don't want to dig in your yard, you're about to get told. There are a bunch of wires and shit in your yard, a bunch of tubes in your yard, right? There's a bunch of pipes in your yard. You don't want to dig. You don't want to try to get a permit to dig. It's also the soil quality in the United States is bad. We have terrible soil quality. See what happens when you grow the same crop and you don't rotate for hundreds of years. You've been a corn farmer or a soybean farmer. When you just do that, hundreds of years of corn or hundreds of years of soybean, you're going to ruin the soil quality. It's going to erode all of the yeah, depletion's a good word, but it takes all the nutrients out of your soil. Are you a polymath? I don't even know what the fuck that is. My mod team says it's like having human GTP just talk at you. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, Lori Harrell said you gotta amend your garden every year, but I have an eidetic memory, cat. So it means if I see it, it's stuck up here unless I don't need it. And my brain's like really fucking good at holding on to pertinent shit and letting go of shit you don't need. So like I can just sit and fucking spit and it sounds like what the fuck is coming out of his hole. Like you just got a lot. But yeah, but here's the thing that I've noticed and like people don't talk about it is like if you're using growers, the rotation, depletion, all those things are not as prevalent. Especially if you're putting like alpaca poop in your shit, like it's not as big of a deal. And also if you're using growers, it's also easier to rotate. So you don't it could be rotation based on position. It doesn't have to be rotation based on basket. And that's because we were using too small of baskets. And the thing about it is I hate to do this, I'm gonna do this, and then we're gonna go read, okay? But there's a reason I talk about gardening, right? About growing your own food and about understanding about what we've been doing wrong is we've been putting things in containers and trying to grow them. And it's like, think about yourself. Think about yourself as a seedling and growing up you become like an oak tree, right? But like if you're stuck in a 2x2, you can never grow outside of that. Okay? So it's almost like how I'm perceiving how gardens should be built. Big, tall growers that are, 4x4x4, not these small ass fucking 2 foot tall growers that are 1 foot deep. Like, you have big ass growers, bigger containers mean bigger production, more. Your cherry tomato tree, instead of having, oh look, it's got two things. No, it's got fucking 8 of them because it has all the space it needs. Okay, and it's like people, you don't give people enough space to fucking grow, and it limits their fucking growth. And that's one of the things that I think about when I was a kid is our teachers had no problems telling people they were gonna go work at fucking McDonald's or football's not for you. I remember my teachers and coaches, and it wasn't to me. It wasn't to me. I'm sitting here with you. Yeah, what's above ground should also have that much below ground. So yeah, before we start reading, I just want to spit that out. Like November 5th happened, and I think like the purest thing came from it, right? Like my neighbor embraced me. He said, "We can work together." We voted the same. You know what I mean? We have the same thoughts. He's getting ready to retire, right? Like he doesn't want to lose his fucking social security, right? So yeah, I just want to make sure. Like you gotta tell like good, positive stories that have like good outcomes, that have like good knowledge that you can share and shit. Because like you don't get to tell those stories all the time. That shit doesn't happen all the time. So now let's grind because that's what we're doing. But if I'm gonna grind, I'm gonna say you can support me, okay, fine, with money, and here's how. You can support me on Venmo. You can support me on PayPal. Okay. So the world changed on that day. But yeah, if we let it could be for the worst. Okay. So what we've done so far is we have read through the first 59 pages and some change, okay, of this 175-page document, okay? And so where we're picking it up, we're going to reread this section, okay? So if you would like a link to this report, I'm going to put it in the chat, okay? If you would like a link to this. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say this before I start reading. The house next door to me is for sale, and it is a low maintenance lot. There's not a lot of yard. There's not a lot of house. You get to live next to me. I'm going to grow a big ass garden, give away the yield. I'm going to put a bunch of solar panels on my roof, and you don't have to worry about a power bill or your power going out, right? Because that's the big fear for my wife and I when the weather gets super bad and super fucking cold outside. It ain't about your furnace working. Indianapolis, Indiana. I live in Lawrence. Technically, we live in old. I hate even saying it out loud. Technically, we live in Old Geist. So whatever that fucking means. It just means that the house next to me costs like $300,000, and from my perspective, it's like that's a $300,000 house. Holy shit! And it is. I mean, because of housing costs. But it's like, buy that, be my neighbor. You'll have me as your neighbor. It's way better than your other options. But anyway, so on page 60 of this document that I put in the chat. Okay. Okay. Mr. Trump and co-conspirators sought to deprive, that is, injure or oppress, citizens of their constitutional right to have their presidential election votes counted. The words injure or oppress in Section 241 are not used in any technical sense but cover a variety of conduct intended to prevent, harm, inhibit, hinder, frustrate, obstruct, or interfere with the free exercise and enjoyment of a right. And then a bunch of stuff. Although they were not in the back room altering vote tallies in a local election or stuffing falsified ballots into ballot boxes, as alleged in prior cases charged under this statute, Mr. Trump and co-conspirators nonetheless sought the same result: to effectively cast aside legitimate votes in a manner that would have deprived citizens of their right to vote and have their votes counted. And then, hold on. Where's my little co-conspirator chart? Co-conspirator. Okay. Save image. The Cocos. Okay. Co-conspirator 1 is Rudy Giuliani. Okay. Remember that. Okay. As Rudy Giuliani admitted, their primary objective was to just flat out change the vote, deduct that number of votes from the, declare those votes, 300,000 votes in Philadelphia, illegal and unlawful, reduce the number by 300,000. Mr. Trump attempted to carry out this objective in multiple ways. He urged state officials to disregard the legitimate majority of votes for Mr. Biden and pressured and threatened Georgia's Secretary of State to find more than 11,000 votes to dilute Mr. Biden's vote count in the state. And he urged Mr. Pence, here we are at page 61, I believe, I'm reading Jack Smith's report. This is a continuation. This is part 3. Okay. The evidence collected showed that Mr. Trump targeted this voting right with precision. He centered his false claims of election fraud on select states or cities and counties within those states, with large numbers of voters who had not chosen to re-elect him. D. Defenses. Before presenting the original indictment to the grand jury, the office considered Mr. Trump's potential defenses to these charges, including a good faith defense and advice of counsel defense and constitutional defenses. The office concluded that each of these defenses was legally or factually flawed and thus would not prevail. First, it was expected that Mr. Trump would argue that he acted in good faith when he sought to stop the transfer of presidential power because he genuinely believed that the outcome determinative fraud had undermined the election's integrity and caused him to lose. As set forth in Section 2A, the office developed strong proof that Mr. Trump knew that his election fraud claims were false. For example, Mr. Trump made persistent claims of a large number of dead voters in Georgia, including in his speech at the Ellipse on January 6th. Even though his senior campaign advisor and Georgia's Secretary of State had told him that the claims were untrue. He spread lies, including his Ellipse speech of sinister, fraudulent vote dumps in Michigan, even after Michigan's state majority leader told him that nothing suspicious had occurred. Why would you do that? Yeah, why would you write that 3 times in a row? No, 174. And Mr. Trump repeatedly made provably false allegations about fraud. Now we're on page 62. Pennsylvania, despite having been told by the chairman of the state that the vote count was occurring as expected. Even if Mr. Trump maintained that he sincerely believed he won the election, a conclusion unsupported by the evidence collected in the investigation, it would not provide a defense to the Section 371 charge. A defendant may not use deceit to obstruct a government function, even if he believes the function itself to be unconstitutional, because a claim of unconstitutionality will not be heard to excuse a voluntary, deliberate, and calculated course of fraud and deceit. Okay, so remember, before you try to usher me on, this is a Learn Live, okay? So I'm going back to school to get a degree in data analytics with the purpose of becoming a STEM teacher or professor while I work to become an NFL head coach. I'm a current high school football coach. The next stop's college. The next stop's the NFL. Don't worry, okay? Thank you, Wicked. So occasionally what we're going to do is we're going to reread things for emphasis, okay? And I'm deciding this. As I read it, I'm like, oh shit, that's important shit. We should fucking reread that. Everyone should fucking hear this. Well, considering that the president of the International Court of Justice, I believe it's Fawad Salam, he just resigned effective yesterday. Again, the president of the International Court of Justice at The Hague resigned yesterday, and Jack Smith's resignation was final yesterday. Gotta figure he slots right in as the president of the International Court of Justice. So somebody asked, like, does this shit matter now? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So what we're rereading here is section, page 62, section 175. Okay? Thank you. Somebody already paid me some money, so you didn't even have to be the first person to realize that what I'm doing is providing a valuable service. Somebody already beat you to that. 175 says, even if Mr. Trump maintained that he sincerely believed he won the election, in parentheses, a conclusion unsupported by the evidence collected in the investigation, it would not provide a defense to the Section 371 charge. A defendant may not use deceit to obstruct a government function, even if he believes the function itself to be unconstitutional, because a claim of unconstitutionality will not be heard to excuse a voluntary, deliberate, and calculated course of fraud and deceit. Warning. Because they had to change the rules of the election following Donald Trump's attempt to overthrow the government on January 6, 2021. They made the certification of the election ministerial, which means that the president of the election, Kamala Harris, the current vice president of the United States, that's who presides over the election. Their job is no longer, they don't got options no more. He's not eligible for office. He's in violation of the 14th Amendment, Article 3, which says that if you held public office prior, if you participated in an insurrection or gave aid or comfort to the enemy thereof, you are thereby ineligible for office, and you wear that ineligibility like a scarlet letter, meaning that you are just ineligible for office. And the only way to get rid of the scarlet letter is to have 2/3 of both the House and Senate vote to remove that from you and allow you to be the president. And I'm just telling you that'll never happen in a million fucking years. And also, there's no action. It's self-activating. Congress don't get a say. POTUS don't get a say. It just is. He's just ineligible for office. So the thing about the 14th Amendment, Article 3, is that it doesn't say that you can't run if you have a felony. It doesn't say that you can't win your party's nomination and become the Republican presidential candidate. You can totally fucking do that because that's not a position. It's not actually a position in government. You're just a candidate. You're just a regular citizen. Okay. You can even win. You can like, bro, the only way we'll not be president comes to the 20th is seasonal or life period. Yeah, the difference between you and I is that my mentors are constitutional scholars and lawyers, and yours work at gas stations. So before you come to me and try to tell me what's going to happen on January 20th, you might want to pick up a fucking book because you were behind and you did not do your homework. Whoever's job it is to, like, on election day, I'm good. Or, I mean, it could happen before. But, everybody's asking me what I think's going to happen. Oh, what I think's going to happen is Democrats are going to do all the way up to the inauguration exactly as they've done. They ain't going to say shit. Just going to pretend we're going to walk up to that fucking microphone. But here's what's going to happen. I'm just going to spell it for you. Donald Trump knows that no one's coming for him on the 20th. Nobody's going to be there for Donnie Boy on the 20th. Why do we know that? Because he scheduled a rally for the day before. Yeah, he did that so that he could pump up the attendance numbers. Because he doesn't need to do that. And that when a president utilizes their immunity clause to punish people, remember the pendulum swings back the other way. So while he may use his immunity to neutralize Donald Trump, it always comes the other way. Also, Executive Order 13848 says that after every election, like every major agency in the United States is doing a thorough investigation of every election. And if any elected official went to a podium and was like, they cheated, oh my God, we're all going to die. Guess what? Not only did they break a law and they're going to be fined for that statement, they're going to be investigated by all of those agencies, are now going to go sit them down and say, what the fuck do you know that we don't fucking know? Right? And ultimately they're going to get a talking to, and they're going to be like, shit. So is it worth it? Is it worth it to go out and scream they cheated in a mic? No. It costs money, right? It costs money. It's against the rules. Democrats play by the fucking rules. And for all of you out there, they're like, I don't understand. Why haven't they done anything? Yo, they're trying to limit violence. I know that's difficult. Carla, here's the thing about that. I don't actually know that. So let me cast a shadow of doubt on Donald Trump showing up today. I don't know that. So I'm not going to purport that. So do you think he's impeding the investigated? You might want to fix that. So remember, Donald Trump and the MAGA, they don't play by rules. They don't give a fuck. Okay? Yeah. See what Pick said? A few of Trump's team are scheduled to show up, but not DJT. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. If Donald Trump was going to be there, I would be concerned about him receiving classified briefings or closed briefings before he's inaugurated. Now, he's not even eligible to receive classified briefings. So, like I said, if he were going to be there, that'd be a major fucking problem. Mm-hmm. And for the record, I said that on an earlier video, and I got corrected. I can take accountability and say I was fucking wrong. I thought Donald J. Trump was going to fucking be there, because why wouldn't he want to fucking be there, right? You would want to show your face at that meeting they're going to talk to you about. Yeah, see, somebody said I heard he was required to be there today. You know what? They don't play by fucking rules over there, friend. You might want to understand that. Okay, they don't play by rules over there. Maybe we're gonna let them know it's time to play baseball. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, no. So again, people keep talking about the Democrats and this administration investigating. That's literally not your fucking job. They literally changed the rules. Executive Order 13848 means election crimes are triable by the DOJ now and investigated by them. It's literally in their handbook now. So Joe Biden and the Democrats, they don't need to say shit. Neither does the current administration. They don't need to say shit. It's not their job. The Department of Justice has been, well, let's put it like this. Donald Trump and his relationship with Russia has been monitored for over 37 years. Do you understand that's almost 2 generations of feds? That's people that came into the FBI 37 years ago and already retired, and their replacements on year 17. That's how long they've been investigating Donald Trump. 2 generations of feds. Yeah, because they would be making a glaring error. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. The entire reason I'm here, the entire reason that I'm here is because the news isn't saying these things, right? Like, think about the news. Have you heard on MSNBC or CNN or Fox, Donald Trump is ineligible for office per the 14th Amendment, Article 3? No. Because that's fucking boring. People don't want to hear that shit. So they'll say it, and then what happens? Donald Trump sees it, and he's got the brain of a 4th grader and dementia. So then all of a sudden he wants to get rid of birthright fucking citizenship, right? Like, they got no clue what's going on in mainstream media. They're talking about Donald Trump came out of the meeting at the White House. I just want to point out a chain of events that to me is very clear. Do you remember Donald Trump had lunch at the White House? Do you remember how after that, within like 3 days of the meetup at the White House, Donald Trump was like, we got to get rid of the 14th Amendment. And it was like, we're going to get rid of birthright citizenship. And people's heads fucking exploded where they were like, oh my God, Donald Trump wants to get rid of birthright. No, the fuck he didn't. He's a 4th grader with dementia. Not only was he not listening when he went to the lunch at the White House, and Kamala Harris probably got up in his face and said, I'm going to take you down, Don. You're not eligible for office per the 14th Amendment, Article 3, and his brain broke. And 3 days later, he woke up from a ketamine-induced fucking coma and was like, I want to get rid of the birthright citizenship, 14th Amendment. Fuck it. Right? And that's because he didn't pay attention. Like, of all the insane shit to come out of Donald Trump's mouth, ending birthright citizenship. That's way up there for me. Why? That is the dumbest shit I have ever heard as a platform position in my whole life. What the fuck are you talking about? He wants to repeal the 14th Amendment. He wanted to repeal the 14th Amendment because of Section fucking 3. And he's just too dumb to figure it out. And nobody that fucks with Donald Trump is telling him. Think about this. After the lunch at the White House, he still had, I think, like 3 weeks to file for amnesty from the 14th Amendment in this election. He could have got away with it, for the record. He could have gotten away with it if he had just filed for amnesty from the 14th Amendment. I believe the deadline was December 25th. And he didn't fucking do it. Think about that. All of that's real. Like, he didn't sign the ethics agreement. He hasn't divested and can't sign the emoluments clause. He didn't sign the transition paperwork, which unlocks money for him and his family to move into the White House. Why the fuck wouldn't you sign that? It's because he's not going to be the president. And that everything they're doing is in the effort of de-escalating the situation. I know that it's difficult to swallow and that you can't tolerate it. How would we know he didn't do the amnesty thing? They would have publicly said Donald Trump's filed for amnesty and it has been approved by Congress or POTUS or SCOTUS or whatever. Like, he would have had to file for that. There would be a filing. And it wouldn't be a secret. Like, it'd be public. Yeah, that's a public filing for amnesty. Huh? Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, that's called follow through. So what happened, if you guys could like this, share this, make sure that you follow me, go to my profile, click on the YouTube link, go to my YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you do that. Okay. What had happened was, I think about a month ago, the SEC threatened securities fraud charges on Elon Musk if he didn't pay a fine. I believe it was $20 million twice. So I think it was like a $40 million bill. If he didn't pay that, yeah. Yeah, they have absolutely no business speaking. And in fact, if Democrats were out there fucking talking, that means they have nothing. It's just like Cory Booker said, quiet is powerful and those that are loud are the weakest. So yeah. The SEC threatened securities fraud charges if Elon Musk didn't pay like $40 million a month ago, and then we didn't hear anything. And I'm guessing he didn't pay the fucking bill. And so now he caught charges as it refers to, I believe it was buying shares of Twitter before he bought the application, which I believe you're supposed to disclose that you own stock in a company that you're purchasing. Yeah, that happened yesterday. Elon. Yeah, Elon got charged yesterday. Formally. He had been threatened with charges about a month ago too. So we knew we had run up. Yep, we actually had a run up to that. We knew that was coming. Okay, so after we reread that, one who elects such a course as a means of self-help may not escape the consequences by urging that his conduct be excused because the statute which he sought to evade is unconstitutional. Id. There are appropriate and inappropriate ways to challenge perceived illegalities. Id. Just as the president of a company may be guilty for fraud for using knowingly false statements of fact to defraud investors, even if he subjectively believes that his company will eventually succeed. They all think that laws don't apply to them. Well, toxic narcissistic disorder, I believe. TND. I don't even know if that's a thing. I made it up. Vicky Brady said Dems too. So before you get banned, can you name one Democrat that thinks they're above the law? Thank you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Mr. Trump could be convicted of using deceit to obstruct the government function by which the results of the presidential election are collected, counted, and certified, even if he established that he subjectively believed that he had reason to do so because of his claims that the election was rigged. It bears emphasis that Mr. Trump's knowing deceit was pervasive throughout the charged conspiracies. This was not a case in which Mr. Trump merely misstated a fact or two in a handful of isolated instances. On a repeated basis, he and co-conspirators used specific and we are now on 63, knowingly false claims of election fraud in his calls and meetings with state officials in an effort to induce them to overturn the results of the election in their states. We are on, again, page 63 on item 176. MAGA have copy and paste installed on their DNA. It's wild. I'm happy. Leave me alone. All right. To his own vice president and induce Mr. Pence to violate his duty during the congressional certification proceeding and on January 6th as to call to action to the angry crowd he had gathered at the Ellipse and sent them to the Capitol to disrupt the certification proceeding. 178. Mr. Trump and co-conspirators used other forms of deceit as well, including when they falsely represented that the fraudulent electoral votes would be used only if Mr. Trump prevailed in pending contests in their states, and when they caused fraudulent electors to falsely swear that they were duly certified and send those false certifications to Congress. Regardless of any claim that Mr. Trump subjectively believed the outcome of the election was unfair or rigged, the office concluded that these knowingly deceitful statements and acts would overcome any good faith defense. The office also expected that Mr. Trump might claim that his consultation with attorneys, several of whom were co-conspirators, should negate a finding that he acted with a, page 64, criminal state of mind. In pretrial litigation, the court granted the government's motion that Mr. Trump should be required to declare whether he intended to employ such a defense, and if he did, to produce the discovery required by the attendant waiver of Mr. Trump's attorney-client privilege. ECF number 147. A defendant's claim that he relied in good faith on his attorney's advice is not an affirmative defense that defeats liability, even if the jury accepts the government's allegations as true, but functions instead as evidence that, if believed, can raise a reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors about whether the government has proved the required element of the offense, that the defendant had an unlawful intent. She's part of the lie. Yeah, she's gonna get grilled too. It's all a show. It's all a show. The office concluded that if Mr. Trump chose to raise such a defense, it would fail because an advice of counsel defense is not available where counsel acts as an accomplice to the crime. The evidence showed that the central attorneys on whom Mr. Trump may have relied for such a defense, such as Rudy Giuliani or John Eastman, come on down, were partners in a venture with the result that any advice of counsel defense necessarily would fail. Rudy Giuliani assisted Mr. Trump in using knowingly false claims of election fraud in furtherance of the charged conspiracies. At press conferences, we are on page 65, number 181, top of the page. At hearings before legislatures in the targeted states and directly with officials in the targeted states, Rudy Giuliani made a wide range of specific, though ever-changing, false claims of election fraud. Rudy Giuliani continued to do so after his lies were publicly or directly rebuked. Rudy Giuliani's involvement spanned from his insistence that Mr. Trump declare victory on election night to using the voicemails that Rudy Giuliani left for senators on the night of January 6, using false claims of election fraud to ask that the legislators further delay the certification. John Eastman was instrumental in Mr. Trump's efforts to organize his electors to cast fraudulent votes and send them to the vice president, and then to pressure the vice president to use the fraudulent electoral certificates to overturn the election results. Throughout his involvement in Mr. Trump's conspiracies, John Eastman conceded privately to other attorneys that his plans violated federal law and would not withstand scrutiny in court. We are on page 66. Furthermore, Mr. Trump could not have succeeded in showing that he relied in good faith on legal advice from these attorneys. The evidence showed that Mr. Trump was not looking to Rudy Giuliani or John Eastman for legal advice. Instead, Mr. Trump was the head of a conspiracy who sought legal cover from his co-conspirators, as Rudy Giuliani acted repeatedly in furtherance of the conspiracies. Multiple advisors to Mr. Trump warned him that Rudy Giuliani would not successfully challenge the election results and was not acting in Mr. Trump's best interest. Mr. Trump ignored them all because he was not relying on Rudy Giuliani as an attorney. Similarly, John Eastman's willingness to advocate for actions that he knew and even privately conceded were unlawful demonstrates that both he and Mr. Trump understood his role was not that of an attorney offering legal advice on which Mr. Trump was acting. For instance, in a lawsuit in Georgia, John Eastman filed a false certification by Mr. Trump after having written to other attorneys in an email that both he and Mr. Trump knew some of the allegations incorporated into the filing were inaccurate. And John Eastman's decision to advocate to the Vice President Counsel and Chief of Staff on January 5th, 2021, that the Vice President should unlawfully reject legitimate electoral certificates, an act that John Eastman had previously recognized was not supported by the Constitution or federal law. We are on page 67. Number 191, top of the page. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention to comments and just reading. I'm really sorry. Did I miss anything? Was a sharp reversal from his position just one day earlier and happened only because Mr. Trump made clear that it was his preferred strategy. 192. The office was otherwise confident that it would be able to demonstrate that with respect to all attorneys, Mr. Trump could not meet the elements of the defense, such as the requirement that he make full disclosure to any attorneys of all relevant facts and then rely faithfully on their advice. So one of the things that I'm learning, if you're not learning, don't play fuck games with your lawyers. I hope that summation of like the last few pages sticks. Like, if you need an attorney to defend you, you need to tell them everything, and you just need to hope they do their job. And when you don't do that, you're gonna get in trouble. You get a lot in trouble. Jack would have nailed him. This is gonna hit. Jack would have nailed him if he hadn't commit worse crimes. But the Patties were lying. Oh yeah, he's guilty. One of the things that this report says already is that none of his possible defenses would have worked. Like, they not only said, you committed this crime, but here's all of the ways you could have defended what you did, and none of them work. What I think it's a trap. I think everything is a trap. I think all the moves made have been well-laid traps. They want them thinking they won, and they want people doubting it and just not showing up. They want a light crowd. Why? because they know that they're not people. Remember, one of the things that you have to understand is that about 3 months before the election, like in the summer, in like June, July, August timeframe, okay, uh, a company did a social media audit of Donald Trump and Elon Musk on all of their social media profiles, and 90% of their following was fake. So if you ever wondered if you've ever been growing on social media and you've ever been offered to buy followers, and you were like, why the fuck would I buy followers? The followers that I have don't do anything for me. And again, this is not TikTok, but like before, like, why would I want to buy followers if the people that I'm following aren't doing anything for me, right? And who is perpetuating that marketplace? Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Like, think about, they're the most popular people on like the social media websites that they're on, and they have like huge followings. And the reality is, they're not even that fucking cool. Like, people don't even fuck with you like that, and that's dead ass. That's just the truth. Like, you can not like it, you could sit over in your echo chamber, but you can buy followers, and that's what they both did, because they have that malignant narcissism, right? Where it's just like, it permeates your whole being, and you've got to have a certain number of likes, otherwise shit just doesn't work for you. And when you're addicted to that, when you have a narcissist and the brain of a fourth grader and fucking dementia, I mean, everything that's happened, it's like, yeah, put MAGA hats on homeless people. That shit made me fucking sick. Don Jr. posing with a bunch of homeless people wearing MAGA hats, right? That's their base. So yeah, here we are, page 67. This was a sharp reversal from his position just one day earlier and happened only because Mr. Trump had made clear that it was his preferred strategy. The office was otherwise confident it would be able to demonstrate with respect to all attorneys Mr. Trump could not meet the elements of the defense. And such as a requirement, he make full disclosure to all attorneys of all relevant facts and then rely faithfully on their advice. Finally, the office anticipated that Mr. Trump would claim his conduct was protected by the First Amendment. As the district court recognized, the First Amendment embodies our profound national commitment to the free exchange of ideas, and it bars the government from restricting expression because of its message, its ideas, its subject matter, its content. So, if anybody would like to reference this right here as to why TikTok should get to stick around, for the record, Report of Special Counsel Smith, Volume 1, January 2025, page 67. What is this? Under 192. And I'm going to read it again. The First Amendment embodies our profound national commitment to the free exchange of ideas, and it bars the government from restricting expression because of its message, its ideas, its subject matter, or its content. So there's why TikTok should not be banned, because of this reference in this lawsuit right here, actually. Okay, where they said like what Donald Trump did does not fall under the First Amendment, and here's why. And it's like, yeah, here's where the district court said that what the First Amendment says that applies to TikTok. Okay, under the guise of national security is not a reason. If they cared about national security, Meta wouldn't exist, because Facebook is what it used to be called, and they changed the name because they had a massive data breach, like the largest data breach in history. And that's why it's called Meta now. And Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are the primary forces behind the ban of TikTok. That's why we don't use Twitter and we don't use any Meta tools. None of them. Fuck them. Let them rot. Facebook's already losing money. Twitter's in the dump. Okay? Page 68. Consistent with that precedent, the original and superseding indictments recognized that Mr. Trump had a right, like every American, to speak publicly about the 2020 presidential election and even to claim falsely that there had been outcome determinative fraud during the election and that he had won. They charged Mr. Trump, however, with using knowingly false statements to defeat a government function, injure the right to vote, and obstruct an official proceeding. Hey, sociology doc. You're welcome. That is, he made dozens of specific claims that there had been substantial fraud in certain states, such as large numbers of dead, non-resident, non-citizen, or otherwise ineligible voters had cast ballots, or that voting machines had changed votes for the defendant to votes for Biden. Those were factual claims that were verifiably false, and Mr. Trump knew that they were false. See it. Mr. Trump then used those lies as the instrument of his 4 criminal offenses. Because he used those knowingly false statements regarding specific facts to commit the crimes charged in the superseding indictment, they were not protected by the First Amendment. Wow, that's a whole... Do you have thoughts on why Kamala conceded so early? He did that with Biden the first time. Okay. So the question in chat was, okay, so you have thoughts why Kamala Harris conceded so fast? For the same reason Joe Biden conceded so fast, for the same reason that the certification of the election was a land speed record, 37 fucking minutes with no objections. All of those things tell me that they're trying to stay out of the Fed's way. Just trying to do their job. Get in, get out. Say fight 18 times in your concession speech, Kamala. Okay. Biden didn't concede the first night. It's not his job to concede. It's not his election to lose. It was a well-laid trap. See what we learned? You know what we've learned? Here, how long have we been live? Oh, we've been live for an hour and a half, so we're going to stop. We're going to stop and take a break, shake it out, okay? But we're going to talk, okay? So, one of the things that we've learned in reading this Jack Smith report is that Donald Trump does not do well with educated women. Remember, we said that. We learned as a result of reading Jack Smith's fucking report that this is before the election. This is before the 2024 election season. This is before Kamala Harris entered the ring. Okay? Before Kamala Harris was chosen to be the Democratic nominee, Donald Trump learned that in the 2020 presidential election, he did very poorly with educated women. And it fucking turned him. It made him evil. He was like, oh, hell no. Smart bitches hate me? Oh, hell no. And you know what the Democrats did? They were like, Superman has kryptonite, huh? Yeah, you don't like that shit, huh? Huh. Who you gonna partner with, Don? Who you gonna work with, Don? Oh, Elon Musk? Oh, okay. Somebody that thinks that the rules don't apply to you? Okay. So let's get a educated black woman that has sued people for securities fraud, which, by the way, they threatened Elon Musk with about a month ago over there at the SEC. And by the way, the SEC put charges on Elon Musk yesterday. And leadership permeates, right? When you have great leaders, like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, your intelligence, your leadership, it fucking permeates everything. And I'm telling you that for the last fucking 8, 10 years, oh, they've been all over Donald Trump, like white on rice. And especially, here's what was especially telling for me. Okay, a month out of the, he ain't escaped shit. You drop lesser charges for greater charges. Y'all are so fucking defeatist. Like, go win at something. Win at something consistently, and then you'll understand who is to blame and when it is time to be upset. But Merrick Garland is not to blame. You drop lesser charges for greater charges. And that's not my opinion. I talk to attorneys. Hey, why would you give this up? Why would Jack Smith give this up? Because there are bigger fish to fry in that pond. So I'm just going to start blocking you. I don't even want you in my chat. I don't want people around me that when I speak, it does nothing. It doesn't change your mind or change your behavior. What the fuck are you here for? If I'm telling you that, like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would you want to be my friend if nothing that I say affects you? Yes, 100%, 100% a setup. Every time they dismiss charges, Donald Trump, like, he gets louder. He gets more like, ha ha, I got away with it. Fuck all of you. I'm gonna fucking like, that's what Donald Trump does. Is that inaction, right? We're gonna dismiss this because he's gonna be president. He loses his shit. Now I'm gonna I'm gonna destroy. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for that right there. That shit that he's doing, where he gets angry and he promises retribution and punishment for his political opponents. That's what they're looking for, right there. That's what we're trying to elicit. That's what you're trying to get him to do. You want him to tell you what he's going to do. And the thing about it is, he's been doing that. The whole fucking time, he's been telling you exactly what he's going to do. My favorite part about all this, on election night, we thought that there were 80 bomb threats, right? From the TikTok shop. From Super Mario World, we thought there were 80 bomb threats. Did you know that qualifies as election interference and is grounds for canceling an election and redoing it? Yeah, I mean, it's called Russian propaganda, Melinda. Literally, if you tell someone the same lie for 2 weeks, it becomes a truth and they're brainwashed forever. Okay? So, yeah, know that just the bomb threats is enough to redo an election. Okay? Okay? So, think about this. This is something we really haven't talked about, but I've kind of had it in my mind the whole time. So, if we know there were 80 plus bomb threats, there's potential here that they could redo this election. If you're the Democrats, do you do anything? Nope. Just do your job. Just show up every day and do your job. The Republicans are going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you. Why? Because those idiots can't sit still and be quiet. And they're going to tell you everything that they're going to do to you over the next 2 months and change while we sort this shit out. And they're going to give you all the entertainment that you could possibly need. Mm-hmm. Yep, and the Republicans have done that. In my eyes, the Republicans have run out all of their goodwill. They ran it all out. They got none left. They're an enemy to the American people, like dead ass. That's where they are now, right? Because they think they've won. What happens when they come out and say we found significant election interference and fraud? This election is annulled, and we're going to have another one, and we've got another system of voting that we've been working on with all these agencies this whole time in the last 2 months. That's what we've been doing. So quietly, was trying to figure out how do we conduct an election where it doesn't involve Starlink, ES&S, Dominion, Smartmatics, or any of the other American manufacturers of election systems, because those are clearly corruptible. What is the Republican Party going to do other than shit its fucking self? We ruined all of the goodwill. All of the people that voted for us now fucking hate us. All the people that fucking hate us and didn't vote for us, oh no, honey. You aren't getting anyone now. And now they find enough fraud in enough elections and they rerun like 7 states fucking elections. It completely flips the House and Senate, and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz fucking walk away win. Like, keep in mind, you can certify an election, then challenge it, and then annul it. It didn't used to be that way. They changed the fucking rules because of Donald Trump. They changed the entire rules of the election because of the TikTok shop. The literal everything in the TikTok shop. Literally. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great question, Walnut. So, timeframes are everything. Executive Order 13848. Let me pull that up for you. Okay. Okay. Executive Order 13848. Donald Trump actually passed this shit while he was in office, and he was trying to catch whoever his opponent was going to be cheating in an election and have all his cronies that he made head of all these agencies produce false reports on people like Joe Biden. And Joe Biden didn't need to fucking cheat because he's like a real deal Holyfield political candidate, and he fucking destroyed Donald Trump. But there is a document that you can copy that link, and it'll take you to Executive Order 13848. So somebody, I'm gonna get out of here, but somebody was asking like why what makes you think they're investigating? Good question. So September 12th, 2018, Donald Trump signed Executive Order 13848, which requires not later than 45 days after the conclusion of a United States election. So not just not no. No. So 1A is the order. The order. Okay? Not later than 45 days after the conclusion of a United States election, the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate executive departments and agencies, shall conduct an assessment of any information indicating that a foreign government or any person acting as an agent of or on behalf of a foreign government has acted with the intent or purpose of interfering in that election. The assessment shall identify to the maximum extent ascertainable. I love that fucking phrase. To the maximum extent ascertainable, the nature of any foreign interference and any methods employed to execute it, the persons involved, and the foreign government or governments that authorized, directed, sponsored, or supported it. The Director of National Intelligence shall deliver this assessment, appropriate supporting information, to the President, the Secretary of State, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of Homeland Security. So that was November 5th to December 20th. If you recall, the President and Vice President rushing back to the White House on December 20th in the evening. And then they spent the whole week after that working and passing a bunch of bills and shit. Now, it says, within 45 days of receiving the assessment and information described in Section 1A of this order, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate agencies, and, as appropriate, state and local officials, shall deliver to the President and Secretary of State, the Secretary of Treasury, and the Secretary of Defense a report evaluating with respect to the United States the election that is subject to the assessment described in Section 1A. So for all the people out here that keep saying shit like it's 45, 45, 30. It's not. It's not. Stop saying that. All it says for the second 45 days in Section B is that a report is due by these people to these people within 45 days of the first 45 days. Okay? So the 30 days says, down in Section F of this, no later than 30 days following the date of this order. And if you go back up and you go, well, where did that F come from? Where did that F come from? That F is part of Section 1, which is the order. So 45 days after the conclusion of an election, a report's due. 30 days after you receive the order, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Treasury, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Director of National Intelligence shall develop a framework for the process that will be used to carry out their respective responsibilities pursuant to this order. The framework, which may be classified in whole or in part. So you want to know why it's quiet? All I got is one word for you. Classified. It's classified. It is a matter of national and international security. That has been a consistent theme in my content. Mum's the word. Loose lips sink ships. Act as if. Meaning, just do your job. Just show up and do your fucking job. There are agencies. And keep in mind, remember how Donald Trump wanted to deport Jack Smith? Remember how Donald Trump talked about threatening federal employees with purity tests and sitting down and finding out who you voted for and shit and whether that was going to let you keep your fucking job? For the record, that's fucking Nazi Germany. Holy shit. Straight out of the TikTok shop. Okay? Straight out of the TikTok shop. But anyway, this says, this framework, which may be classified in whole or in part, shall focus on ensuring that agencies fulfill their responsibilities pursuant to this order in a manner that maintains methodological consistency, protects law enforcement or other sensitive information and intelligence sources and methods, maintains an appropriate separation between intelligence functions and policy and legal judgments, and ensures that efforts to protect electoral processes and institutions are insulated from political bias and respects the principles of free speech and open debate. Okay? 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 Oh, and people keep asking me, can they do anything other than sanctions? Yeah. So I'm going to tell you. Any recommended sanctions shall be appropriately calibrated to the scope of the foreign interference identified and may include one or more of the following with respect to each targeted foreign person: blocking and prohibiting all transactions in a person's property and interests in property subject to United States jurisdiction. So for the record, all those people that were getting paid by, what was that called, Tenet Media, that were getting paid like $100,000 a month to spread Russian propaganda, Section 1. You've seen Nate Fuentes, is that what his name? Nick Fuentes and Laura Loomer all of a sudden aren't able to conduct monetary transactions, and the only way you can pay them is fucking crypto. What do you think happened? Blocking and prohibited all transactions? That's it right fucking there. That's one. That's one. 2, export license restrictions under any statute or regulation that requires a prior review and approval of the United States government as a condition for the export or re-export of goods and services. Prohibitions on the United States financial institution making loans or providing credit. So you've noticed Donald Trump's not out here getting loans and shit. He don't have a bunch of credit. He's cash only. Yeah, how the fuck did we get there? Restrictions on transactions in foreign exchange if the person has any interest. Prohibitions of transfers of credit of payments between financial institutions or by, through, or to any financial institution for the benefit of a person. Prohibitions on United States persons investing or purchasing equity or debt of a person. Exclusion of a person's alien corporate officers from the United States. Imposition on a person's alien principal effective English. Person's alien principal executive officers of any of the sanctions. And then 9. I want to make sure that we say this before we go to get out of here, okay? So one of the things that bothers me is that people are saying shit like, oh, they're handling all these MAGA with fucking kids' gloves. And they're like, where did that come from? Like, yeah, you can pay me. You can pay me on PayPal or Venmo for my good work and my thoughts. You're exactly correct. Title 9 of Executive Order 13848 also says any other method authorized by law. So understand that they can convict you of any crime that you commit as it refers to Executive Order 13848. It says it right there. Any other method authorized by law. That means that any punishment for any other crime that they find as a result of this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other punishment is what I meant. Like it isn't just exclusion and expulsion, sanctions, blocking your financial transaction. No. It says any other measures authorized by law, including like prison time. Yeah. So yeah, I want to make sure you read that. Understand, Donald Trump did not write that shit. Not in a million fucking years. Way smarter people wrote that shit for Donald Trump, which tells you the other everything you needed to know. Like, why doesn't Donald Trump know that? Oh, he knows that. He knows that. He knows that. Mm-hmm. But he also knows Jack Smith is the most dangerous person on earth to him. Mm-hmm. He knows that. Okay. So we're gonna get out of here. I'm so confused about why Trump did it. Oh, Carla, it's because he broke a lot of glass in the TikTok shop, and he never had to pay to repair the glass. And if you break enough glass, you could have committed like treason. And so when you break a lot of glass in the TikTok shop and up to and including like treason, they're gonna let you get away with a lot of the glass breaking that you did because you were just breaking some glass. And so that's what happens. Like every time he doesn't get punished for shit, understand that it's like he broke glass and you can break enough glass to be the burglar. And they're trying to catch him being the burglar. Breaking glass is like, were you trying to break in? No? Okay, so you're just kind of a dick. Destruction of property. And so when you're trying to get a billionaire for treason, you're going to let him break some glass. You're going to try to figure out why he's doing that. So he creates a law? Yeah, he's scared a TikTok shop's going to get him. And a lot of people helped him break all that glass. Yes, they did. At least 6 that we can come out. It's very complex. For how dumb Donald Trump really is, man, did he weave a twisted web. Why did he create a law that was against what he's actually doing? He created it in 2018 while he was in power to catch the next guy. Like, he was trying to fix the 2020 election with the Executive Order 13848 by appointing all his cronies to be the head of all these agencies, the FBI, CIA, NSA, D6, CISA. But the problem is, it can buy you some things, but it can't buy you everything. Money cannot buy you everything. So what ended up happening is all these people that Donald Trump thought he owned them and he could do whatever he wanted, they pushed back. I mean, Mike Pence, I dislike the guy. There aren't any Republicans I can get along with, right? But Mike Pence, fucking stood up to Donald Trump and said that's not how it works, Don. I can't do that. I'm not gonna do that. Vladimir Putin, former KGB. That's where he got his glass breaking tips. That's where he gets his instructions. Cuz it ain't him. Mhm. Patricia, thank you. Okay. Pence's wife snubbing him at the funeral was chef's kiss. He is kind of the only one that stood up. Mhm. No, he the thing about Donald Trump is that like a lot of it is shit he did on his own, but he had a lot of help. Rudy Giuliani carried a lot of water. And you could tell because he's like leaking. Come on, that was funny. Michelle didn't go because she would have had to sit next to him. Can you imagine sitting next to his stinking ass and your pretty ass Michelle Obama? Shit. She couldn't have wore a purple enough dress to get out of that. She just sat there. She just sat there with the dirtiest fucking look on her face the whole fucking time. You ever had to sit next to somebody with a fucking child and it's shit all over them and you gotta fucking smell it and you sitting there the whole time like, oh my fucking god, like this shit is nauseating, dog. You know what I mean? That would have been fucking Michelle Obama. And like I said, that was funny. I don't often tap myself on the back, but like she couldn't have wore a purple enough dress to sit next to Donald Trump. That's a good fucking joke. Cause like you have to like think about what the fuck is he even talking about? Like, oh, he perpetuated that she was a man on. That's part of the reason he got banned from Twitter, isn't it? Didn't he call Michelle Obama a man? Wasn't that part of the? He's been saying she's ugly, a monkey, a man. Like, yeah, she was gonna knock his ass out. There's a reason she does Krav Maga and shit and choking motherfuckers out. You know what I mean? Like, if she ever runs into Donald Trump in an alley, it's on like Donkey Kong. She's gonna leave him laying there like Batman's parents, just face down in a puddle. And then she's gonna turn around, put the fucking mask on, hop in the fucking DeLorean, and it's gonna have a jet engine in the back. And now you wonder what the fuck happened to Michelle Obama. All right, so let's get out of here. We'll be back in a little bit to read some more.